Let's go, page 100, chapter 48 for Tanya for the 14th of Iyar. It's also a minor holiday, Pesach Sheni. Okay, so if you look at the top of page 100 in the Chayenu, you will notice that there is a good summary of how we got here. Chapters 46, 47, now 48, and he gives you a preview of 49.
How many chapters are?
Total, I think 53. So
20 for each week.
in chapter 46, we spoke about the easy way to think how God is so great, yet God comes down to embrace us, to make a bond. Chapter 47, we translated the response to that meditation, how God in his greatness comes down to bring us close, as a personal exodus where we leave the bodily bondage for freedom of spirit, specifically articulated in the Shema.
Wow.
It's meaning after you pray that you should feel freer. You shouldn't feel bogged down by the limitations of the body and the challenges of the physical life. Hashem is echad. Hashem is one. We're one with Hashem, despite the appearance of distance. And now in chapter 48, it's elucidating on God's greatness in and beyond creation, to magnify the value and implications of his tzimtzum that comes down to us. Meaning, it's almost like a little bit of I don't know, call it a footnote, but it's like it's a further explanation. We give a very simple mechanism. God is so great. God is so infinite. And yet God came down in Egypt and comes every day to help us get close. So I think 48 and 49, what he's doing is explaining it in a little more sophistication. Hashem is great. Okay, what does that mean? So he gives you a little crash course of the term tzimtzum, a little crash course on Kabbalah, how Hashem creates the world. That's chapter 48.
Tzimtzum means compressed, right?
Yeah. So I guess you have to have a little bit of not, see that we talked about the problem that while the Alter Rebbe gives this very basic meditation, sometimes it still doesn't motivate us, right? He doesn't say that, but we're knowing ourselves. Hashem is amazing. Hashem is great. Hashem is everything. Hashem is infinite. And Hashem loves us. And yet, it might not move the person. We said that's the reason in the Steinsaltz footnote it said is because it's very possible that, you're not, you could say the words, but if you don't have truly the grasp on the words, I mean, you're somewhat illiterate of the spiritual implications of the words you're saying, then it doesn't mean that much. So what's the answer? So I guess the answer from chapter 48 is the answer from chapter 48 is to what? Is to understand God vis-a-vis the world. Let's hear some language. That's how I understand it. Okay. Contemplating the greatness of the blessed Ein Sof, the blessed infinite one, then you'll come to the realization that just as his name his name indicates, so is he in endless, Ein Sof, Ein Kes V'Tachlis Klal. There's no end or limit or finitude at all to the light and vitality that diffuse from his simple will. There's no end or limit or finitude to the light and vitality diffused from his simple will. There's meaning not just is he infinite. I'm sorry. His light, meaning God's projection. It's not his essence, his projection. That his simple will to project is infinite. His projection, his rays, so to speak, his light, in which is united with his essence, his light, his projection is united with his essence and being in perfect unity. So when you think about, wait a second, God, as God is in the simple sense, is undefinable. Unlimited, undefinable, and can have no, parameters, no specific boundaries, or there's boundaries, no specific way to present, way to be, way to
communicate,
to be finite, that we can have a finite world, right? It says in the Steinsaltz Talmud, in the Steinsaltz sidebar here, that when we say there's no end or limit whatsoever to the his light and life force, it negates any possibility of limitation in quantity, size, intensity, other aspect. When we say infinity in mathematics, it's still there's a context of numbers. It's infinite numbers, but it's within a context of numbers. But when we say the infinity of God, we're talking like it's beyond any concepts.
Infinity.
What?
Infinity is infinity. And I'd say also that we are infinite, although we don't grasp it.
So the point he's saying is
Rabbi, I tend to, I think I understand what Alan might be suggesting, and is that in mathematics, it's just not a matter of, well, it's somehow limited in numbers or something. Infinity's infinity.
I'm just reading what he says here. Although in one sense, infinity is a number or set of numbers that can continue indefinitely, in other ways, it is limited by its very definition. He doesn't explain. I'm not a mathematician, but
yeah, but can't you say to all?
Yet the infinite light of God truly has no end or limit of any kind. So it's more pure infinity, whatever you can.
That we can even talk about it it makes
That's
us on his level.
Words, even though that's the only way we communicate, and we got to understand as best we can, words don't even do it justice.
I agree. We come close, but not
right.
But it's God is gracious that we're able to even talk about it.
Right. Okay, let's continue. Page 101. Had the world descended from the light of the blessed Ein Sof without contractions, meaning if God would have, let's say, tried to make a world out of that infinite light by means of without the tzimtzum, this is the key thing we're learning, the tzimtzum, the big idea of the rupture of infinity to kind of make finite, more parameter stuff. Had there not been that tzimtzum, that contraction, only like the steps of the term called cause and effect. Cause and effect is where the higher the source is the cause and for the manifestation of the lower level. Like a light bulb is a source of light, and the light that comes from it is the effect. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
The sun would be the cause, the sun rays would be the effect.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, if there would just be these qualitative descent from infinite light, you never would have created a world. Here's an example. It says thought and speech. When a person speaks, it's the first thing he thought about. So thought is the cause, speech is the effect. Though thought is more spiritual than speech, there's a certain relationship between the two levels, higher and lower.
Mm-hmm.
For example, they both have letters that form words, albeit in different ways. But we're talking about true infinity of God and any type of worlds that come from that. This world and all it contains would not have been created in its present form. In a finite, limited order, from the earth to the firmament is a distance of 500 years. As in the Talmud, they measure, the earth to the sky is 500 years distance. And that could be even whatever that means physically, spiritually, some type of dimension. And similar limit is the distance between one firmament and the next.
How do you go from the earth to the sky in 500 years? I don't understand what you're trying to say.
It could be metaphor. The point, it's a measurement. I don't know exactly.
I'm looking for a metaphor, but I'm not able to grasp that.
It's some distance. They didn't say it's endless. They said it's some distance.
It's like a light year.
A light year, whatever you call it. It could be that, heavens we're talking about maybe it could be heavens, the physical heavens. It could be the spiritual heavens, and and you have to say it's a spiritual measurement. I don't, the details, the main point is there's some measurement, even if it's light years away.
Okay, you're talking about time. You're talking about the distance traveled by light in a year is really what you're talking about.
I don't want to say I want to limit to that. I think there's much more commentators on this. The main point is call it whatever you want. It's a measuring stick, right? And you go from one world to one firmament to the next. They're also 500 years, and so on. The radial extent of each firmament, the thickness is a distance of 500 years. And there's even the world to come in the higher level of Gan Eden, the abodes of the souls of the great tzaddikim.
Wow.
And the souls themselves, and needless to add, the angels are all in the realm of bounds limitation. All these levels are limited and
saying the same thing we said about words, isn't it?
I'm sorry?
Saying the same thing about words, isn't it? We said communicating is limited, is the way we learn, but it doesn't do justice to try to explain Hashem.
Right. So even the highest level tzaddik or angel, they have limitations. For this limit to their apprehension, what's the limitation of the Srafim? Is that there's a limit to their apprehension of the light of the blessed Ein Sof, which shines upon them through being clothed in Chabad and so on. They understand great things to a limit. Hence, there is also a limit to the enjoyment that they derive from the rays of the Shekhinah to the pleasure and the light of God. For they are incapable of deriving enjoyment and delight of an infinite order without being nullified out of their existence and returning to their source. Thus, even the creatures of the highest spiritual worlds are finite beings. In order for them to be created in a finite matter, you must have a qualitative leap called the tzimtzum, the contraction, because there has to be this huge rupture between infinity and even a high level of finitude.
Rupture is a good word.
Yeah, I didn't make it up.
It's from that book.
Yeah, exactly. So, how long does this go? We can do a little bit more for tomorrow because it's a short chumash. Continue on because I think we're in the middle of the topic, and it's hard. Tzimtzum. So the bottom line of today's Tanya was that there's a qualitative rupture between the way God is in an infinite way and any concept of world, even a high spiritual world, has parameters, and that's not something that can come with any type of pipeline, because you can't cross the divide between the infinity of God and worlds that are finite, unless we have this mechanism called tzimtzum, which is where God contracted. We'll see what that means. Hid himself, hid the infinite light. What does that mean to hide? Is it really hidden? Is it just... Anyways, it's a big topic, and I don't think we're going to get to it, but we'll get to some of it. So let's see what it says here. Page 102. Now, for the intricate details of the contractions, how they achieve their effect, and what they actually are, this is not the place for the explanation. But in general, they are something in the nature of an obscuring and concealment of the flow of light and vitality. Okay, you're hiding the infinite light. That the light and vitality should illumine and reach the lower creatures. Them say that it should not shine to the lower ways. That the infinite light should not overwhelm the lower creatures in a revealed manner, in order to be able to enclose and to animate them in a way that they exist ex nihilo, but only in extremely minute measure, so they be a state of finitude limitation. So what's contraction, Simson? You're hiding the infinite part of the light, and you're allowing the finite or the limited part of the light, and that can create limited parameter worlds. This light and vitality, as revealed within them after the contraction, constitutes an infinitesimal, a very small illumination, and is truly considered as nothing when compared with the quality of the limitless and infinite illumination that it comes from, that it's being surgically cut off from, and there's no proportional relation between them. Meaning, the God has everything. God has infinity, and God has also the capacity for finite, because God has everything.
Wow.
But when it's all together, the infinity overwhelms everything. So when there's this contraction where you're highlighting, you're covering over the infinite part, and you're highlighting the finite capacity of God, that which is a very diminished, a different type of light that can create our world. The term proportion is understood in number values, where number 1 stands in a certain ratio to number 1 million. For it's 1 million, 1 trillion. It's 1 trillionth of it, right? But it's still, there's some even tiny value towards it. But as regards to numbers that transcend finitude numeration, there is no number that can be relative to it. For a billion and a trillion, when compared to infinity, do not even attain the relevancy of the value of 1 in comparison. It's not like 1 to a trillion is like a trillion to infinity. It's nothing compared to infinity, because it's a totally different concept. Rather, it's like a trillion to infinity is like nothing. So indeed is the utter insignificant quality of this minute illumination. We're going back to the light of God, this tiny light after God hides the infinite light, which clothes itself in the higher and lower worlds in order to provide them with sustenance and life, when compared to the quality of the hidden and concealed light that is of an infinite order, and does not clothe itself or exercise influence in the worlds in a revealed manner, providing them with life, but encompasses them from above, and is called Sovev Kolamim. It's called encompassing all worlds. The meaning of this is not that it encircles and encompasses from above spatially, God forbid, for in spiritual matters, the category of space is in no way applicable.
Where we are, Rabbi?
I'm trying to assess. So we call this term so the infinite light is called Sovev. The light that encompasses the world. Doesn't mean encompass it spatially, God forbid, because spiritual matters, it's not an ozone layer, you know what I'm saying? The category of space is in no way applicable. The meaning is that it encircles and encompasses from above insofar as the relation of this influence is concerned. For influence, which is in the category, the light, which is in the category of revelation to the world, is referred to as investiture, enclothment. Being clothed within the worlds, for the influence that they receive is clothing comprehended by them. Whereas influence, which does not come within the category of revelation, so that's called mamale. Mamale is that the light that fills the worlds because it's tapered. It's very low energy of God's energy. But the light that is higher, infinite energy, we relate to it. It's just to say that it's not invested, it's transcendent. That's what he said means transcendent. The same way something that is encompassing something transcends it. So here, not in physical terms, but in relationship of the low energy that animates our worlds compared to the infinite energy that it was spliced off from, it relates to it in a way of transcendence. It can't, there's no, it's equally not graspable by us.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's not enclosed, it's aloof.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, since the worlds belong in the order of the finite and limited, it follows that only an extremely minute and contracted reflection of the flow of the infinite light of the blessed Ein Sof clothes and manifests itself in them in a revealed form, and this is only to animate them in a finite revealed state. But the principal light that is without contraction to such an extent is called makiv, encircler, and soviv, encompasser. Since that light, that infinite light, is influence is not revealed in as much as they belong, because the worlds are finite and limited. So if you had to walk away with some terms, this is a huge topic. People spend their whole lifetime understanding details of this.